everybody, welcome to another episode of Professional American. For those who are regular listeners, I've been away for a little bit. I'm not dead, still here. Life's been hectic. Quick recap. Between hunting season starting up here for squirrel with Carrie and archery deer for myself, and taking down a tree at our property and cleaning it up, and life in general, things have been kind of hectic. There was back to school as well. So I've just been putting it off, but I have today. I'm here today, and I do have another episode planned, hopefully for next month, and I hope it's going to be about hunting. I'll give you a little teaser on that. So I don't want to get into hunting too much into this episode. I want to kind of lump everything in together, and hopefully if everything plays out correctly, I should have a lot to talk about. So I don't want to go into it too much, but that's going to be the next episode in December. I promise you I will not leave you hanging. If you're new, please feel free to go back and listen to the back catalog if you haven't already done that. All right, today's topic is going to be pew pew, firearms, guns, pistols, rifles, the whole shebang-a-bang. I actually started to record this once and realized that I was going way too deep down the rabbit hole. So I went back, wrote an outline, and we're going to do this again, but cleaned up and a little bit more tidy, if you will. So, first of all, why? Why is this a topic? Well, as I stated in the very beginning of this podcast, my goal is to talk about what I feel it means to be a professional American, someone who lives the values that it takes to be an American, why this country was founded, and what it should mean. That was the goal. And it would be really foolish to talk about stuff like that without bringing up guns. Guns are the whole entire reason why this country exists. If we did not have access to them, if we did not have the support around them that we have had, we would have never been able to, one, fight for our independence the same way that we did, and be able to keep our independence. And I think it's very important to point that out. I think if we were doing everything in the Stone Ages, we would not. We might have existed. It just might have taken another 100 to 200 years. We don't know. So, for the bulk of human history, humans have existed to survive, and that obviously means hunting for food and defense. So it's for the bulk of human history, the majority of human history, because you got to remember, firearms have only been around, at least in Western history, for a little over 200 years. And so humans have obviously been on the earth way longer than that. And look how much of an impact that time period has had and what has developed since then. So, yes, we started out with rocks and spears and arrows and knives, but once firearms got brought to the forefront, things just, pardon the bad pun here, but it exploded as far as development, settling, exploration. It just grew exponentially from there. So we had everything from the beginning, which was flintlock, which was, everyone has watched a movie. You've seen them put the gunpowder in the barrel and the patch and the ball, and then ram it down there, put a little bit of powder on the pan, and press pull the trigger. Flint comes down, creates a spark, ignites that, and boom. Very, very old way. A lot of people still hunt that way, actually. There is Pennsylvania has a flintlock season. I think we're the only state that does. So those were smooth bore rifles. They did not have any rifling, any spirals down the tube, similar to shotguns today. And then rifling happened. Actually, there were some muskets and muzzle loaders that did have rifling. There were rifled muskets. There were cap rifles as well. So instead of putting gunpowder in the pan, you actually put your primer, a little cap on the outside. So kind of like a modern day primer that's on your bullets now, but on the outside. And then the invention of the cartridge, which was both for pistol and then eventually for rifle, was what we think of now as as the modern day bullet. Brass casing, primer built into it, and your powder was already in there, and your projectile, instead of being a round ball, was a pointed projectile. So that was when things really started to move along once the cartridge came. A lot of innovation from revolvers to modern-day carbines, like bolt-action rifles, removable magazines. So it evolved from there. And then I think where we currently sit today was started back when the semi-automatic rifle was really, I hate to use popularized, but became more mainstream, easier to produce. Everyone knows what an AR-15 is now, but the AR Armalite was designed back in the 50s, mid to late 50s, by Eugene Stoner, and that is what propelled many designs, many different rifles, still in use today. And of course, the semi-automatic function was not new to that. I mean, the 1911 pistol made by Colt was legendary, and I think everyone who owns a firearm should at least have one 1911. It's a fantastic weapon, even if it is kind of old school, but nothing else shoots like it. It's pretty cool. So that replaced the service revolver that a lot of people carried. So it really changed the game, and moving forward into what we have today, that is both military-wise and personal and civilian-wise. That's where we really are. Most people have a bolt-action rifle for hunting because many states do not allow you to hunt certain animals with semi-automatic. I know in Pennsylvania, squirrel is one of them. Squirrel we're allowed to shoot with semi-automatic. So the rifle my daughter hunts with for squirrel is a Ruger 1022, famous legendary rifle. That is semi-automatic. We're allowed to do squirrel, woodchuck, small game essentially is allowed to have semi-automatic. And but you cannot hunt deer with semi-automatic. You have to have bolt action or manual breakaway. Like my dad has a single shot breakaway 223 that opens up similar to a shotgun. It ejects the old casing, you put in the new one, you close it up, cock the hammer, you're good to go. So that's kind of where we're at there. I think everyone pretty much has a bolt action for hunting, semi-automatic pistol for either range time or for concealed carry, or for everyday carry, and a lot of people have a shotgun, and maybe people have an AR, which is a universal term, AR-15, but AR stands for, like I mentioned, Armalite, which is a style. It was the original company who made the original what is now the AR-15. But so when you mention AR, it's referring to that style. So that's a very, very brief history. I never considered myself a gun nut. Like I don't go into the whole grain of bullets, like how much powder is in, and there's people who can tell you muzzle velocity and max range and all that good stuff. I love shooting though. While I may not be on the technical side of the house a nerd, I love to shoot, and if ammunition was free, I'd be shooting all the time. I really would. I absolutely love to shoot, whether it's pistol, rifle, or now bow. I love to shoot. It's very relaxing for me. I know that sounds weird. For some people who think that firearms are violent, it sounds weird that a violent tool would be relaxing. But it is. It is for me. And the reason why, again, we're talking about this is because without firearms, we would have not been able to become the country that we are today. And I know outside the U.S., people think that the United States is just a gun-obsessed country. And I guess there are some people who are. It's hard to say that no one is, but not everyone is. I'm not obsessed. I like them, but I'm not obsessed. And obviously the one thing that gets brought up all the time for firearms is the Second Amendment. The First Amendment's the right to free speech. The Second Amendment is, and I quote, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's pretty simple. It sucks because a lot of people really 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 overthink this. It's not that difficult. The Second Amendment is simply there in order to keep our beings, whether it's local, state, or federal selves, free. That's it. It's there to help us defend ourselves. Now, I know some people have said, well, it's of the time, that means you should only be allowed to have a musket and a cannon, and you're not allowed to have assault weapons, which I fucking hate the term assault weapon. Let me just tell you that. First F-bomb of the podcast. I hate the term assault weapon because what most people today, when they say assault weapon or assault rifle, which is what they think AR stands for, is assault rifle, they think of an AR-15. And they say it's a military weapon. Well, you know what? Back in World War I, we did not assault anybody with AR-15s because we didn't have them. In World War II, when we landed at Omaha Beach and we assaulted the beach, did we have ARs? No, we did not. When we did in World War II, when we were clearing buildings, clearing homes in order to, fight World War II. We didn't have a AR, no, but we were assaulting, weren't we? Yes, we were. Same thing in the Korean War. So why now are we calling it an assault? Well, assault sounds violent, and it's to assign feelings to a tool. I have a safe full of guns right next to me right now, and no one has died. They're just sitting there. So they're just tools. They are just tools. Tools that have helped us create this country and tools that help keep our country free. Now, there are two sides of this coin. Actually, I think there's three sides of this coin. The one side is that that when it comes to firearm ownership, everything should be regulated. In California, you need to pass a background check in order to buy ammunition. I think that's asinine. That is absurd. Everyone who has purchased a firearm has heard about California compliant firearms. They can only hold a certain amount of rounds. They have to have special safeties. In fact, the pistol that I carry on me every day is not for sale in California because it does not have a safety on it. Can't have that. So that's one end of the spectrum. California, essentially, if you had to put a face on the one end of the spectrum, it's California. The other end of the spectrum are the people that believe that even a background check, a basic background check, is an infringement on their rights, or that a concealed carry permit is an infringement on their rights. And I think those people are more right than the people who want to regulate everything, but there are many flaws in that line of thinking as well. I believe there is some good logic, and this is where the third category falls into, which is more where I lean. I think there is good logic that you should at least have your criminal history looked into before you are purchasing a tool which, let's be honest, the main purpose of this tool, the main purpose of a hammer is to drive nails and rip nails up, depending on which end of the hammer you want to use. The main purpose of a knife is to cut stuff. The main purpose of a gun is to shoot stuff. And let's be honest, it is a weapon that is designed to kill. That's what it is. It is a tool. It is a tool designed for killing. That's just the way it is. Same thing with a bow and arrow. A bow and arrow is designed to kill. It is a tool. Yes, we shoot targets with them because it's illegal to kill people. I can't exactly go for a target practice in the middle of a town. That's called killing, and that's illegal. So that's why we shoot targets. I think a lot of people forget that it is a tool designed to kill, because all we do is target practice with them. So I think you should have your background looked into before you're allowed to purchase a tool designed for killing. If you have a history of breaking the law, and maybe violent crimes are in that history, then I think logically you should not be allowed to own a tool meant to kill. Now, I'm also not naive enough to think that that person trying to buy a firearm that has, has a long history of physical assault, robbery, all that good stuff, maybe has killed somebody in the past, is just going to stop there and go, oh, I didn't pass the background check. I'll just go home. Never mind. No, they're going to find a way around it, because criminals are going to be criminals. So I'm not naive enough to think that. But I think it is common. I hate to use the word common sense, but I think it is logical to allow the government to look into your criminal history to see if you should own a gun. Now, that's a whole other discussion that I would love to have with somebody someday, because it can get into the weeds. It really can. But as a general statement, that's how I feel. Now, you've heard me talk about concealed carry versus open carry. Actually, I haven't mentioned open carry, but I've mentioned concealed carry. So let's compare those two. Number one, in the name, it's pretty simple. You have conceal, which means no one can see it, versus open carry, which means everyone can see it. Now, I have feelings on this. Number one, open carry, for me, I think there's a time and a place. I think if you're at a range, open carry is fantastic, because especially if it's an outdoor range, I don't think if it's your own range, I don't think many indoor ranges let you do this. It has to be done a certain way, depending on where you're at. But open carry is great. You don't have to worry about snagging on clothing. It's a little bit easier access. For a range day, I prefer open carry. When I hunt, I open carry in case I have to defend myself against a bear, and that's no joke, and it happens. When I was in the Army, when I deployed, I had a drop holster on my leg, a leg holster, and I liked that. That was ease of access. Police officers open carry, so that's, again, ease of access. However, time and a place, I don't think you should open carry in the fucking grocery store. That's not the time nor the place. I think it makes you a target, and it depends on how you want to look at it here. I think it paints a target on you for perception. There are obviously people who are not comfortable with guns. There are people who are not comfortable with the idea of them, or that they think they may be as far as thinking they shouldn't exist, which I personally know someone who thinks and has vocalized that they wished guns did not exist at all. And those people are going to look at you funny. They obviously are going to see you. They may be afraid of you. They may get their kids. They may run to the next aisle. They may tell the store owner, hey, that guy's got a gun, even though you're legally allowed to do it. They may think because you have a gun that you're a threat. So that's one target. The other target is if a bad guy does go to where you are, I'm sorry, but any logical criminal, I know that kind of is an oxymoron, but any criminal that is going into a place with the intent to shoot, they're going to take you out first, because they can see that you have a gun on you and that you will be a potential threat to them. So I'm not a big fan of open carry. Pennsylvania is an open carry state, so I can legally just go out and unless a business tells me otherwise, I'm allowed to just walk in anywhere I want with a firearm. Now, there's concealed carry, which, again, very self-explanatory. It is concealed. In Pennsylvania, and I'm speaking only for Pennsylvania, you must pass a background check. You have to, at least in our county, I have to drive to the courthouse, drop off my paperwork, and a $25 check, I believe it was, and wait 4 to 6 weeks for the permit to come to me. It can take longer, but it can be shorter than that as well. I think my renewal was pretty quick, and Chewy's barking, but that's okay. Hold on, let me check on Chewy here. Hey, buddy, why don't you shut the hell up? Okay? Thanks, bud. Then once you have it, you can conceal, and it's important. There's a lot of responsibilities with concealed carry. First of all, the idea of concealed carry is so that no one can see, and it's important to remember that. I get very subconscious about this. If the wind is blowing a certain way and it pushes, like if I'm walking into the wind, and I've had this happen going to the grocery store where the wind catches, I'm walking right into it, and everyone knows when you have a loose-fitting shirt or even a tight-fitting shirt, the wind blows up against you, it's gonna print. You're gonna see your belt, you're gonna see your arms. If it's really cold, you might see some other body parts, but it's good. Your gun is going to be visible depending on how you conceal it. I prefer to appendix carry, so right at the 12 o'clock position on my belt, right in front of me, pointed right down at the old boys, is how I prefer. So in my case, walking into the wind, you're going to see it. So wearing bulkier clothing sometimes is a way around that, wearing more loose-fitting stuff. Also losing weight. Not having a belly definitely helps with concealed carry because your fat's not pushing it up against the belt and your shirt. So I'd say that's step number one. But knowing, so that's one thing is not printing because you are supposed to be concealed. No one's supposed to know you have it. Knowing, for also, if you're going to conceal carry, you have to have a trigger guard, a holster with some sort of trigger guard. I've seen and know people that have done pocket carry. They just put it in their pocket and there's no trigger guard on it whatsoever, which allows anything in your pocket or finger to catch on the trigger. And if you're walking around with one in the tube, which if you're concealed carry, you should be doing, it's just going to go off depending on the firearm. This is a no-go. You got to cover the trigger. You have to cover the trigger. So it's a big responsibility. I know a lot of places they'll have the signs, and it sucks. I may or may not have walked into places that say no firearms on the building, and I've done it anyway. May or may not. We'll see. Jury's still out on that one. I'll let you know. But also, no harm, no foul. I was also not going in there with the intent of shooting up the place, hypothetically. And so you do have to kind of know, like, when you go to the courthouse, you walk through a metal detector. So you do have to, I've had to go to the courthouse. I have a safe in the car. So what I do is I'll lock it up in the safe, take my holster off, and then go to the building, come back, put it back on. I actually once took Chloe to Mystery Science Theater 3000 was doing a national tour, and they came nearby, and it was a gift to her because she liked to watch it, and we went there, and it was a theater closer to Philly, not in Philly, but closer to Philly, and we get to the theater, and I see everyone's walking through metal detectors. So I had to take Chloe, walk her all the way back to the car, which was not closed, put it in my safe, and then go back. And she was younger at the time, and I had to explain to her, I'm like, yeah, Daddy carries, and I can't bring it in here because of the metal detector. So there was that. So there is some responsibility with that, as well as the safe handling of firearm rules. There's the top three. I know there's more, but the three big ones that everyone should know, period. Even if you're not a gun person, if you come across a gun, there are three things you should know. Number one, treat every firearm, rifle or pistol, as if it is loaded. Then, if you do that, That means the following. If you treat every firearm as if it's loaded, you're not going to point it at something or someone that you do not intend to destroy. Remember, it's a tool for killing. And number 3, if you're treating it as if it's loaded and you're not pointing it at anything or anyone, you do not put your finger on the trigger unless you are prepared to pull the trigger. Period. Those are the basic 3. I harp those all the time with my kids. I've taught my wife this, and I remind anyone when I'm having a conversation about firearms that those are the big 3 that you need to follow. Now, before we move on, I do want to talk about carry permits just for a little extra second here, because another responsibility of concealed carrying is knowing where you can and cannot go as far as outside of your state. Some states have reciprocity with Pennsylvania. Let me actually look that up here. PA concealed carry reciprocity. Okay. There was one. Here we go. Okay. So there's a good site here, pafoa.org, and in their law section, they do have what states honors our concealed carry permit and what states we honor. So let's see here. Alaska, Arizona, and Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Georgia all honor ours, and we honor theirs. Idaho does not, we do not honor Idaho concealed carry permits, but they honor ours. Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, New Hampshire. I know what I'm doing. North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, all honor ours and we honor theirs. Utah says they honor ours, but we only honor theirs with residency restrictions, so I'm not going to click on that, but I'm sure they might have to have like a secondary residence here. Vermont, we do not honor Vermont's, but they honor ours. Virginia honors ours, and we honor theirs. Virginia must have changed recently. West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming all honor ours as well. Now, if you noticed here, I did not say how many states are on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So 30 out of 50 states are honored by Pennsylvania. There was a better map here. I'm going to have to find this now. Here, U.S. concealed carry. This was the one. U.S. concealed carry permit. There we go. This is a better one. So for Pennsylvania, this is much better to look at. So West Virginia. West Virginia does allow ours with restrictions. What is the restrictions? Let's see here. This is usconcealedcarry.com. This is really good. It has a whole map. All right, states that have restricted reciprocity with Pennsylvania. Wow, they don't have the information I'm looking for here. West Virginia, permitless carry at least 20. You have to be 21 years old. Okay, so that's fine. All right, so the states around Pennsylvania, so New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland all do not honor Pennsylvania's carry permit. So if I want to leave Pennsylvania and go anywhere to the south, I have to go through Ohio or West Virginia. Those are the only ways I'm getting through. And I think Ohio must have recently got changed because I thought for the longest time it was only West Virginia. So see, here in real time, I'm learning something that I didn't know before. Other than that, South Carolina appears to be the only one that does not honor it down south. And it seems with restriction, Tennessee's restriction is you have to be 21 years old. So a lot of these restrictions here, you have to be 21 years old. So Arizona, you have to be 21. Florida is resident permits only. Kentucky, 21. Missouri is 19 or 18 for military. 21. So most of these restrictions are just you got to be 21, or you also have to be a resident there. So, so if I was a resident of, if I had a Pennsylvania concealed carry permit, which means I'm a Pennsylvania resident, but I also had a house in Florida, I would be allowed that they would honor it there because that's how that works, and I had to be 21. Obviously, the big ones: New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada. They do not honor, as well as Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, and Illinois, and South Carolina, and Puerto Rico, because for all the times I traveled to Puerto Rico, and Hawaii do not honor Pennsylvania's carry permits. So there's a responsibility to educate yourself and know where you cannot leave this, where you can carry outside of your own state. Now, the reason why I bring this up is this is extremely frustrating and I think, in my opinion, very stupid. I've had a theory for concealed carry permits that if I was king for a day, or president for a day, and let's say dictator. If I was dictator for a day, because this wouldn't happen without it being an authoritarian state. If I was dictator for a day, what I would do for concealed carry permits is I would make it, and I don't know why it's not like this, I would have it work exactly the way our driver's license tests work. Our licenses, it goes state to state. The state has the power to test you and issue it. But you can go anywhere in the country you want with it. It's not like when I drive to New York, I have to stop because I'm not allowed to drive in New York. No, I'm allowed to cross state lines with my driver's license. So I also like the idea of a test, because a test does it forces education, and I think education is a big thing, and that's a whole nother ball of wax here. I think more people should be educated. Education solves really freaking everything. It really does when you think about it. But if you know you're going to apply for a concealed carry permit and you read up to take a small test, it can be done on the spot. 10 questions. Here's 10 questions you need to know the answers to, and then you go, you get it issued. Some states, I think Illinois is one of them. You have to do an actual physical firing test. You have to go to a range and shoot. I like the idea, but I don't think it should be required. I like the idea, but I think it should be tested. I think your renewal should be every 4 years. That money goes to the state, but it allows, if the questions are fairly similar from state to state, then it would be allowed to be carried across all state lines. Now, this would never happen right now because you have some states that are just what's called permitless carry. Some states you can do whatever the hell you want in, and so then you would definitely be infringing on those states. You'd have some states that you'd be bringing regulation to that have none, and you'd have some states that have a ton of regulation that you'd be releasing a ton from. So it would never happen. But in my opinion, that's what I would like concealed carry permits to be. I'd like it to be similar to the driver's licenses. But as I mentioned several times here, responsibility and education, it's a big responsibility. There's the average law-abiding firearm owner does not want to kill people. They don't. Yes, people make jokes. In the military, we always, some of us have said like, "Oh man, just want to get that stateside kill," and it's a joke. It really is a joke. Nobody wants. I shouldn't say nobody, because there's always that one weirdo. But "thou shalt not kill" in the Bible does translate out to murder. You shouldn't want to murder. You shouldn't want to kill anybody. You shouldn't want to end the life of another human being. So it's a big responsibility carrying a loaded firearm. knowing that is a tool that is meant to kill. However, it is because it's such a big responsibility, you should educate yourself on all things firearms. You really should. Even if you don't intend to own one or carry one, you should educate yourself on it. And maybe learn that AR doesn't stand for assault rifle, and it stands for Armalite. Maybe you should educate yourself on that. Or that an AR fires a 50 caliber bullet and weighs as much as 10 boxes, like Maxine Waters said. Educate yourself. That's not very true. Actually, my wife and I just started watching the new season of Dexter because we're big Dexter fans. And spoiler alert, in the very opening scene, or in the opening episode, there is brief talk about a rifle, a hunting rifle, and the person shopping at the gun store said, "No, he points to an AR and said, "I want that one." To which the reply was, that's a lot more firepower. Well, I guess it depends on how you define firepower, but I believe the rifle in question, the first hunting, my hunting rifle that I use for hunting is a Savage Model 11, which is a 308 caliber, and that's a big bullet, versus my AR, which is a 5.56, is a small bullet. And there's a big difference between 308 and 5.56, like big difference between the two. And I guess it comes down to how you define firepower. Are you talking about the actual mass of the bullet, that's the projectile that's going through the air, quantity, because I can only load 4 or 5 into that rifle versus the 30 I can in my AR? What are we talking about? Rate of fire, because it's bolt action versus semi-automatic? I don't know what you're defining it as. I define it as size, really. Caliber size is what I define as firepower. But like a tank has a greater, an M1 Abrams with a 120 millimeter main cannon has a lot more firepower than a 22 because it's bigger. It can go farther. It's bigger. Anyway, so educating yourself on that stuff is important. Also educating yourself the fact of history, that I think it's less savage to kill someone in war with a single shot to the body than being brutalized with a club and a spear and an arrow back before we settled this country. I think it's a little less savage, just my opinion. So educating yourself over the history of wars of humanity and efficiency in which we've been able to do things with modern firearms is important. And without me going really down into too many more little rabbit holes here, if you've listened this far and you severely disagree with me on anything and would like to have a conversation about this, I would be more than happy to do it. And actually, I'd be even more than happy to have you on the show and we can debate it. Maybe not even debate it, but just chat casually or professionally, however you want to do it. It is Professional American after all. And we can talk about our disagreements, and maybe we both can learn something from the other. Also, I don't know if this is something that has been, I'm sure someone's done this, but if you guys would be, whoever's listening, would be interested in me doing an actual video of all the firearms I have, not in a braggadocious way, but kind of to go over all of them that are in my safe to kind of show you the differences between them all, why I have them, the story behind them, and let me know. Let me know if that's something you'd like. I don't know if I want to do it or not. Just popped into my head. I think it'd be kind of cool. But that's really all I got for firearms for today's Pew Pew show. There's a lot of good content out there. I will say Demolition Ranch over on YouTube is a really, really good show. And my kids do enjoy watching it. It is family friendly. There's no cuss words on it. It's very interesting. The bulk of it is he finds something, he finds an item, and he finds out what it would take to be able to destroy it, what caliber. It usually starts with a 22 and works his way up. So it's pretty cool. Very entertaining, showing it as the tool that it is, that it's just whatever you want to do with it. So I recommend you check out that over on YouTube, Demolition Ranch. And man, there's no shortage of firearm content that's out there, but that's a good family-friendly one that I recommend for kids and for adults as well. I find them entertaining as well. And that's all I got, I guess, really. I just want to get something out there for you guys, and I think this was a good chat. And if you want to talk about it more, let me know. Go over to the website, send me an email, hit me up. That's all I got. All right, everybody. Have a good one. If I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, I hope you have a very, very good Thanksgiving, spending time with your loved ones, making sure that they know that you are thankful for them. I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my family. And I'm thankful to live in the greatest country on the face of the planet. And I stand by that. We're having some hiccups, and I hope the hiccups get scared out of us and that we don't have hiccups for much longer, because this is starting to really, really fucking suck. That's all I got. Talk to you guys next time. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and remember to make every day better than the last. See you guys.